I think my clock says 6:30. What's yours say? All right, we'll get started then. All right. Thanks. Yes. So if you have someone at home that's trying to access the Zoom link, we're having difficulties with Zoom. If you want to text them and tell them to look up the YouTube link, we should be live on YouTube for those that want to watch it. I'll give you another option, all right? And so if you came in and you're hot, the air conditioning's on over here. If you're cold, you can sit over there, okay? So if you're lukewarm, no, never mind. Welcome to the service. Yeah, that's my Sunday morning. Okay, this is Tuesday night. We welcome you to our annual meeting. Thank you for coming out. This is an important thing every year we do. I want to announce this right now so don't forget. In a few weeks, on May the 22nd, there is a general conference. How many know what general conference is in Wesleyan Church? Thank you, Susan. Yeah, Josh. Yeah, all you that have been around a while or been to Wesleyan College, you know that. And just as I thought, several of the memorials coming up have to do with membership. I mentioned that to someone earlier on. And one of those things is that paper you signed on the way in. So they're probably going to put it back to the local church on how to administrate that. The way I've administrated is, if you're here tonight, you haven't signed one yet, that'll be our roll call, so make sure you get one to sign in with that. That way, everyone here, at least, is, committed. Otherwise, you probably wouldn't be here on a Tuesday night, right? So that is our roll call. We're going to use that tonight. Also, I want to point out some of our new members. Of course, you may know them already. The Hills are new members on the list, and just getting the paperwork in now, we have the Dafos over here, and Dave and Sherry, if you don't know Dave. All right, they're coming in from the Nazarene Church. Somehow, the Nazarenes have finally saw the light, and they're coming to the Wesleyan Church. No, just kidding. Our sister denomination, we call them, so they're with us tonight. Amen, yeah, right. Well, you were Wesleyan first, so, yeah, you got it covered, right? So, all right. Let's open with a word of prayer, all right? Thank you, God, for our church, and thank you for how you continue to teach us to adapt and to listen to your voice and to know what new visions you'd give us for ministry. I pray that we would be faithful to the Spirit tonight in all we do and go away pleased that God has been among us. And we would rejoice in what you have done, but we'd also look forward to following you in the upcoming year and the years to come. In Jesus' name, amen. We have appointed, let's see, where's my thing here? Let's see if this even works, JB. You never know. Hey, it worked. Oh, I don't know how that came. Coming soon. Why is all this stuff here? Okay. Coming soon. I don't know what it's on. Yeah, ways to give. How about that? We're going to take an offering later tonight. It's not working right. That's how it is. Yeah. Thanks, JB. We'll get to work sooner or later. Welcome in prayer. That's good. And then next is, nope, not going to work. And there's a countdown, and we're not doing that. Huh? Going the wrong way. How about this way? We're there. Okay. Our tonight's tellers are Avor Lewis and Leona Helwig. All right. And so thank you. Yes, give them a hand. Thank you very much. Important job. All right. And as I said, if you haven't filled out your membership affirmation form, that is, I believe that Melanie's back there counting them and give them to whoever. That becomes our roll call, and make sure we've got those. That way she will tell us how many ballots should be cast. I'm assuming everyone here is a member. Can I just do something as we're calling this to order? As the church conference, I'm going to entertain a motion at this point in time. This is a little bit different than usual, but you are the governing body of the church. The board acts in your representation throughout the year. So seeing how that Dave and Sherry has just given me their paperwork today, I would entertain a motion that we go ahead and receive them as members right now. There's a motion. All right. Support for that. All in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Oh, that's why I said that. Susan didn't say no, did she? Okay, all right. All right, very good. Thank you very much. So now, that being the case, then we invite you to join in the voting process tonight. Okay, so roll call, and we're going to get into this tonight and have officer elections. We will be electing some of these people like this. I want to first of all say thank you to those whose terms are expiring as of this year. We have trustees have a 3-year term, and members at large they can serve for 3 years, okay? And so we see that Tom Basciani, he and Dean Richardson's terms are expiring this year. And Dean has served as the head trustee, and JB will tell you he's the biggest spending head trustee we ever had. Anyway, we got a lot done. And Tammy, a member at large, and Eric Sador, who also served as vice chair these last few years, their terms expire as well. So we'll have some changes as we go forward. So I want to say thank you to them. Let's have a hand for those people that serve faithfully. All right, thank you. Let's see. So first we're going to have a nomination for secretary. You have a ballot for secretary. We're going to start with a couple ballots here. And as of right now, the nominating committee has nominated one person, and his name is Dave Ward. And I would open the floor for nominations. So I'm not hearing any nominations, and seeing how Dave is willing to serve again, is there a motion that the secretary cast one vote in his own name? That is appropriate. I know, it's weird, I know. All right, there's a motion, and second. All in favor, say aye. A motion's carried, and we do declare that Dave has been elected secretary. May all of our elections go so well. So there's the position of treasurer, and again, we have a nomination of J.B. Gentile, and I open the floor for nominations, though I do it with fear and trembling. Hearing none, is there a motion from the floor to have the secretary cast one ballot in the name of J.B. Gentile? With second, all in favor say aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion's carried. I didn't give JB a chance to say no. All right. Thank you. We declare that JB has been elected as treasurer. So now we have 2 members of the board. Let's see what we do with the rest, okay? So we're going to go to trustees, and we have, at this point in time, we have 2 open positions, and these are 3-year terms, and we need you to vote for 2 of the names up there, or we're going to open the floor for nomination as well. Now, if we take nominations to the floor, we do have to make sure that we give them, we need to pass out ballots, do we? Yes. We have ballots to pass out. Like someone help pass out these ballots. Okay. Trustees. Yeah. Right here. Green. Green. All right. We'll pass this. So, the nominating committee has presented these 3 names: Daniel Hume, Greg Iverson, and Gary Schaap. Let's see. Do you all know who they are? Can we ask those men to stand if they are here? See, I see Craig back there. All right. Let's see. Gary. All right. And is Daniel Hume here? Okay. I don't see him. All right. Are there other nominations from the floor? So remember I didn't tell you to mark your ballots yet, but when you do, and I know some of you probably already have this, okay, make sure you only mark 2 names, because if you turn in a ballot with 3 names, it'll be considered a damaged ballot, and it will not count. We don't take any hanging chads here, okay? I'm sorry, what? No, you can circle the name that's already written there. If it's a full name, or check it, make it clear that we know which one you want to vote for, all right? I don't hear any other nominations. Is there a motion the nominations cease? All right, support? All in favor say aye. All right, nominations now have ceased, and I instruct you to mark your ballot with 2 names, and then we'll have those collected and taken to the tellers. And while they're counting those votes, we'll move on to our first couple reports. I would ask that if you're giving a report that you would come to the podium and use the microphone, because we are online. It's important to use a microphone so people can hear your voice, okay? I know some of you are shy. I don't need a microphone. Yeah, you do. You don't, but for the sake of those who are watching at home, watching little kids and things like that. So, all right? Oh, I should vote? Nah, I don't have to. Well, I better, yeah. I mean, give you a good example. Thank you. All right, got your pen. All right, so, all right, now it's time for me to give my report. Okay. That is Mount Pocamoonshine. Yes, it has a big cliff in the front, and if you like to climb rocks, I'm not sure. Joel Miller has talked about climbing the front side. I walk around the side and the back. But there's a great ledge there, and then it goes down about 3 or 4 feet. And then you've been up there, have you guys? Who's been up Mount Pocamoonshine? Susan has. And you can make it look like you're climbing up the cliff, So it made a good Facebook, photo. Anyways. But kind of like, this is like ministry during COVID, okay? This is you're always climbing and trying to get on top of things, right? So I made it my goal to give a short report tonight, 1 page, all right? And I would gladly answer questions that are not in this report, but let me just say this. It has been my privilege to serve as your lead pastor at PWC this past year. We continually seek to create a caring community of Christ followers. As we navigate into a post-pandemic era, I say that by faith, we prayerfully work to see an increase in reach and clarity of our message. Times have caused us to continue to retool and rethink our approach toward ministry and how we measure our effectiveness. The term hybrid church, and this is a term that's come out of the post-pandemic era that people like Barna and others are writing about. Bob Eitzel is a church consultant and strategist. He posits that thriving churches of this post-pandemic era are seeing growth as hybrid ministries that are both online and on-site each week. The past year, we averaged 110 on-site and 54 online for a total average of 164. The number we were at before the pandemic hit, right the same number. In this post-pandemic era, Barna reports that there is growth being reported from churches who pivoted from on-site services to online, then to a hybrid approach. We may not be seeing growth in significant numbers, but we are seeing significant health that leads to growth as a result of the faithful resilience of our teams who have been determined to continue ministry through these last couple years. Bridges between the church and the unchurched are continually being spanned through our ministries. There is a strong culture of bridge building in our church that has shown resilience and flexibility in the past year. I applaud our ministry leaders who effectively were able to build and expand our influence in the community. These bridge events, reflected upon by the many reports in this meeting, are attracting new congregants and workers who will expand our bridges in the upcoming year. And a clear vision for new bridges. As we prayerfully assess our community, we receive new members and follow the lead of the Holy Spirit, and God is leading us to add to our caring communities more bridges. Organic groups with mutual interests have sprung up during the year. Others are in the process of developing, such as Celebrate Recovery and Fathers in the Field. And these groups and many others serve to provide more caring groups within our community, as well as new bridges to more people who need specific care. And finally, personal thoughts, and again, I'll keep them brief. I'm learning new confidence in the body of Christ to hear and follow the Holy Spirit's lead. I personally am learning to focus more attention on the Word and prayer, and I'm more grateful than ever for a team of servants whether paid or volunteer. This year has proven to be a challenge physically for my wife and myself in new ways. But I'm grateful to see joy in ministry for both of us as we see a growing ministry personally and professionally in our community. This year, the church begins its 60th year. How many knew that? Yeah, I know you did. Yeah, Dave pointed it out to me, yes. And when I started to fill out my reports for the denomination, it said that the first meeting of this church was in 1962. So that's interesting. 60, well, it said 62 there, but according to their records, 62. So I saw that, so I thought, okay, I started doing the math. This is the 20th year, somewhere during this year. So with that in mind, also, my wife and I have been married for 39 years in a few weeks. And really, this is, and we'll begin our 40th year of marriage. What'd you say? And now, 39th year of ministry and 40th year in marriage begins next year because we will completed 39 years of marriage this year. All right, so it's all getting fuzzy. So anyway, the key is we want to be resilient to the end. And there are those among us that have reached a milestone of 50 years in marriage, and that's neat. But very few of you were around for the last 60 years of the church. All right, were you here that long, Dave? How about, who else? Am, were you here that long? A couple of you, okay. I didn't think you were that old. Yeah, anyways. That's my report, and any questions? I see our vice chairman sitting back there in the back seat, but if you don't have any questions, Dave's up here. He can take the chair if you don't want to walk all the way up here, Dave, Eric, for one last time. What do you think? Eric should come up here one more time and take the chair? Yeah. Oh, yeah, come on. All right. Coming back from his daughter's softball game.
Any questions out there for Pastor Glenn? I'll use my best radio voice. My usual question that I ask Pastor Glenn is, how is your work-life balance? And now with your wife in the audience, you'll have to answer, not that you wouldn't be truthfully, but maybe a little more candidly. So how is your work-life balance, Pastor Glenn?
Today? I think it's better than usual today. Okay.
So while I was, thank you. Question.
Yeah, the 54 online, how do you get that?
So there's two different numbers added together, and one is from Facebook Live, and the other one is from YouTube. Yeah, so and again, how accurate that is, this is the best number we have for reporting to the denomination. You could put a higher number if you looked at the hits. I don't count the hits. I count the engagements. So there's like 3 different numbers in there. So based upon that, if, say, your family watched it at home, that's only 1 hit. That's only 1 engagement. So I'm assuming it's a lower, more conservative number. That's the best I can tell you, Josh. Every pastor's trying to figure this out right now.
Yeah. And each one of the platforms will provide you that number, right? So when you look at YouTube, it'll tell you what the engagement looks like. Yeah. Good question. We actually talk about it at the board pretty regularly. Other questions out there? All right, can I get a motion to accept the pastor's report done? And a second. And all in favor say yes. And any contrary-minded, as Bud would say no.
You make me sorry I invited you up here. I did. Okay, all right. So the next thing on our agenda is to move to the family ministers report. Let's see, I got a good I found a goofy picture of him, too, to put up there. Oh, okay. Didn't know I did that.
All right, so it's been another exciting year in family ministries. In kids ministry, we are going through an especially exciting period of growth that is directly tied to the faithfulness of the TLC ministry. On Sunday mornings in kids church, we have started running consistently in the 10 to anywhere between 10, 15 students every Sunday. Some Sundays we dip down. There's been a couple Sundays where we have no kids, but most Sundays we have 10 to 15. And the biggest area of growth has been in our kinder church area. So children in kindergarten and below. And my wife has stepped up to teach the kinder church age group. So we've actually been splitting between kinder church and elementary church after a combined singing time. And all of the kids that are attending the kinder church regularly have been or are currently in TLC. So it is extremely exciting. I guess there is one kid, of Roman child, who will be in TLC who has started attending. And it's just a joy to have all of those little ones running around. We have been following the GROW curriculum in Kids Church, alternating between studying Old Testament and New Testament passages. We've been looking at themes like wisdom from Proverbs and Psalms. We looked at the life of Jesus, and currently we are in the middle of learning how even the children are called to be God's messengers in our world. We've also been seeking opportunities to minister to our community through special events, through the bridge events that Pastor mentioned. VBS was phenomenal, as always. It was a little terrifying when 60 kids showed up the first night when we were only planning on like 30 to 40. But our team rolled with it wonderfully well, and it was a phenomenal week. We're looking forward to another great week in just a couple months with the VBS for this summer. We also had a Candy Palooza, despite a rainy October day, with hundreds of people walking through the church. We had a great Christmas celebration with Breakfast with Santa, which again offered a great opportunity to connect with our community. Easter weekend, we celebrated with an Easter egg hunt, and Pastor sharing the story of Jesus through nesting eggs that he had bought over in Ukraine, and the children were really engaged in that. And through these events, we had reports of many families being able to have conversations about faith and children's faith journeys, whether it is the children, like school-age children, or even adult children with their parents, talking about the faith that they grew up with, that maybe they've been disengaged with, or what it means to have faith. And there's been some reconnection with not just our church, but other churches because of these bridge events. We also were provided with a great opportunity. As many of you know, I love coffee, and we have a latte machine. And Rachel has been involved in the parent-teacher group over at the elementary school. And they were brainstorming Teacher Appreciation Week things, and Rachel suggested that we could bring our latte machine over there. And so we did. And last week on Wednesday, I took the latte machine over to the elementary school and spent the entire day making lattes for the teachers and staff and workers of the elementary school. And it was a great opportunity to make some connections there and to show the teachers there how much our church appreciates them in partnership with the parent-teacher group. So as we move into the summer months, we're excited to see what God has in store for us through this year as we participate in our district kids camp and prepare for VBS again. So far, we have 2 children registered for our district kids camp. I'm going to start pushing that in the next couple of weeks to see if we can get some more kids to come along. Again, incredibly thankful for the faithful service of Care of Roman for helping coordinate our nursery ministry, which, again, because of the ministry of TLC and the TLC kids starting to attend kids church, their younger siblings have necessitated a weekly nursery ministry, more so than what we had experienced in the last couple of years. And we are seeing growth there, and extremely thankful for Kara for helping coordinate that. For Deb Forcione and Paula Hill for their help with planning the Candy Palooza. For Tammy Hurd for, again, directing VBS. Sherry LaFlame for coordinating the Easter egg hunt. My wife Rachel, for keeping me sane, and also establishing a monthly play date for kids and their caregivers that meets the second Friday of each month. And then, and also for teaching Kinder Church. And for the rest of our kids ministry volunteers, we couldn't do ministry to our children without it. You might notice that is where my report ends in your packet. My second page disappeared into the ether somewhere, so Melanie will be emailing that out, but I'll read that off for you real quick. The youth ministry has been holding steady. We've transitioned over to the office, to the basement of the office, transforming that basement into the new youth room. We've increased district involvement this year with 6 students having attended last year's teen camp, 7 attending a winter retreat that we did in partnership with 3 other churches from our district, and 8 signed up so far to attend this summer's teen camp. On Sunday nights, we've been averaging 10 students, exploring the practical side of our faith journey. We've looked at what it means for Jesus to be the foundation of our public lives, not just something that is secreted away in the private section of our life. We talked about practicing the spiritual disciplines and how the practice of the spiritual disciplines allows God to transform us into his likeness. And we walked through the Lord's Prayer, looking at each line and how each line taught a revolutionary reality in our lives. I'm thankful for Cindy Mueller and Lee Glenister and, again, Rachel for investing their lives in these students, leading them in small groups and participation in outings and retreats and activities. The future for family ministry at Pulaski Wesleyan is filled with opportunities. In kids ministry, we are praying for leaders to step up to help with the teaching rotation for kids church for both the elementary and kinder age level, as well as more nursery volunteers so that we can expand that ministry into the Sunday school hour. With Rob Schrader's new Sunday school class, there are several young moms of young children who have expressed interest in that class, but the biggest barrier for them to attend that class is we don't have nursery during the Sunday school hour. So if you love Jesus and can tolerate babies and toddlers, we would love to partner with you in ministering to these families by providing this service that they need, this ministry that they desperately need. Also, we are going to be focusing this next year on how we transition children from children's ministry into youth ministry. How do you bridge the gap with those 4th, 5th, 6th graders who are starting to be a little too old to be kids, but they're not quite teens yet? So we are brainstorming how to bridge that middle school ministry area. Again, if you love Jesus and like teens or like children, I'd love for you to pray about how God is calling you to partner with us in ministering to these families. Respectfully submitted, Pastor Craig.
Thank you. Did you, I'm sorry, I was talking to Dave. Did you go over how much money was raised for camp?
So far for camp through the envelope fundraiser, I don't have final numbers for the syrup fundraiser yet, but the envelope fundraiser, which we're going to be running for the next couple of weeks still, we've so far raised around $2,600 through that. So thank you so much for your faithfulness in donating to students, enabling students to go to camps this summer.
Any other questions of Craig while he's here? Hearing none, is there a motion to receive his report? All right, all in favor say aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. All right, now I tried to make it so, because I only did 1 page, that there was a limit to 1 page per report, but as you get going, because the treasurers come up next, you know, they get longer and longer. But anyways, by the way, you've done a great job with your voting process. We don't have to do a second ballot for the trustees because, my understanding, we have 32 ballots cast, and that would mean how many need to elect? To see, well, we have enough. We have 2 people that received enough ballots to be elected, and that is Gary Schaff and Craig Iveson are our trustees for the next 3 years. Let's give them a hand. All right, thank you. With that in mind, let's keep them busy back there while we do our reports. Let's go on and go to our nominations. What's that? Oh, that's a good question. It's not. Okay, so you, Lee. Yes, as you know he's a trustee, yes. Dave Foyle. Keith Ridgway. John Mundy. What do you need? Remember, large Bibles. All right, now, as far as years, I don't know right now. All right. Okay, so now we're going to elect 6 people to the board, members at large, and so we already have on the board a treasurer, and a secretary. We'll have the trustees get together and elect their chair, who will serve as the head trustee. So from this list here, this is what the nominating committee has brought forth to us for members at large. We have Roger Brown. Is Roger here? I'm looking at the light. I can't see anything. Roger? Okay, I don't see him. If I mention your name, please stand up, okay? Rob Hill. Thank you, Rob. All right, he stands up every Sunday up here, right? Almost. Sue Kramack. Okay. Meredith Kurtz. All right. Patricia Toussaint. Patty. Brenda Schapp. All right. Rob Schroeder. Schroeder. Well, how do you say it? Schrader. There's no A in there. Schrader. The easy A, right? Oh, we need to go. Okay. Thank you. All right. Thank you. So that is, those are nominations from the nominating committee. Are there any nominations from the floor for member at large? These people are, it's a one-year term, but you can be elected 3 times consecutively before you have to take a hiatus for at least a year. Floor is open for nominations. Hearing no nominations, is there a motion that nominations close? So move. All right, with support. All in favor say aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. So take your ballot, and remember you're going to mark 6 names. Just 6 names. And this will keep our tellers busy for a little bit, all right? And when you're ready, when you've marked your ballot, you go ahead and we'll collect them and take them to our tellers. Very good. Thank you for those. JB's helping collect ballots right now, but he's got a report to give pretty soon. Yeah, he's next. So. Okay, got all our ballots in? Very good. JB, you're up next.
Good evening. How is everyone tonight? On behalf of the board, the pastors and staff, I'd just like to thank everyone for their faithfulness and dedication to this church. It's amazing how God has come through these times over the past couple of years. There's generally 3 types of people when it comes to reading financial reports. There's people like Chuck Miller, who goes about it analytically, goes down, boom. There's other people that like, what are these numbers? And then there's me, who goes like down all these rabbit holes. So instead of going through all the reports like that, I figured what I'd do is I just go through some high-level stuff and go over some of the principles we're using in this budget process. So the verse I wanted to share was, you'll find out why I use this verse in a minute, but do not lay up for yourselves treasures on earth where moth, rust, destroy, and where thieves break and steal. There we go. But lay up for yourself treasures in heaven where neither moth nor rust destroys and where thieves do not break in and steal. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. All right, so what I wanted to do, the first thing I wanted to do was talk about in theory. All right, so Larry Burkett is one of my favorites. He, a long time ago, started a lot of stewardship stuff, and as you can see, he had a nice quote there that I can't see, and it says, the one principle that surrounds everything else is that of stewardship, that we are managers of everything that God has given us. So I just want to cover what I call the 5+2 principles here that we when you look through this, we'll go right through basically all the reports and just going through these few things. So the principles we're really talking about here are to make sure designated funds go where they're designated to go to. All funds have a purpose. Dave Ramsey would say every dollar has a name. We support our local church, which would be our district, because they really support us in many ways. And we invest in the kingdom, which is missions. And then being a good steward involves balance in the valleys, leaving an inheritance to the future generations instead of a burden, and eliminating any debt. All right, so making sure funds are designated where they are supposed to be, and every fund has a purpose. General operating fund is $73,848.75. The majority of this is held in WIF, and the reason we have that high of a balance is because what they recommend is you'd have somewhere between 3 and 6 months of your operating funds put away for things like, I don't know, maybe pandemics, high inflation. So Wesleyan Investment Foundation is a safe investment where we earn generally higher interest rates than we would at a bank, but there's not risk with market. So it's a safe investment where we can gain some interest without putting much risk in it. Thanks, Chuck. So somewhere between 3 to 6 months for those type reasons. It allows us also to deal with fluctuations in, I'm not sure if you're aware, but we have a lot more expenses at the end of the year because of snow plowing, heat, and all that stuff, as opposed to the beginning of the year. So if you were to go through, we've got things that are put in for various allocations, such as we have a short-term mission fund, we have ministry savings, $5,000. These are all right in that first page, which is called the balance sheet. We have personal expenses, savings for conferences and stuff for the pastors, building funds, capital improvement, debt repayment, and all that stuff. So everything that is put away in the savings has a place and why it's there. And there are also limitations on what we can do with those funds. 3 and 4, support our district, and invest in the kingdom with missions. So one thing a lot of people don't understand how, I try to put this in perspective to how we as believers would do this, right? So we take our first fruits, and normally we would give a tithe or 10% to our local church, because that's where we are ministered to keep the church open and minister to others. We do that in a way with the district. It's not quite the same, but it's similar. So the district gives us all kinds of support. They give us guidance, accountability, and all things like that. So we send, and it's not exactly 10% because it's based on last year's figures, but we send money to them every year based upon our previous year's statistics. And then secondly, we go to missions, where we are probably one of the most generous churches there is. This past year, our local assessment was $29,520. We call that the first fruits, or we would call it a tithe, but it's first fruits because it's not actually 10%. And then $56,307.89 went to missions. So we had a total of $85,827.89 going out to build the kingdom. Based on our operating fund of $349,1479 and total income of $407,105.98, that leaves a percentage of 24.591% of our operating fund, or 21.082% of our total income went out to plant seeds in the kingdom. Oh no. All right, so being a good steward, the balance between the valleys. Some people would call this the rainy day fund or the grandma's cookie jar, So, and what that basically is that's just what it means. So, if we had a unexpected expense, like we would never have this but a flooded basement, and things like that, we may need to actually replace those things or take some money out. And also for lulls, like the pandemic, we did not expect to take 2 years. But by having these funds, we're able to weather those storms. Also, we want to leave an inheritance for future generations and not a burden. And what that refers to is sinking funds. So a sinking fund, most people do not understand what a sinking fund concept is, and they say, wow, we got all this money sitting out there, why don't we use that? Well, just like, as I know you're going to be surprised, but it snows here. So roofs do get wear and tear, and eventually we will need to replace that roof. This roof was I believe, over $100,000 here. It's supposed to last us about 80 years. So if you can imagine the cost of that in 80 years, if we don't put any money aside, we're going to be leaving a burden to the future generations. So for long-term sustainability, it's very important that we do things like a sinking fund to make sure that, now a sinking fund does not cover all of it because there's no way we would know, and then you'd be spending so much money preparing for the future that you wouldn't be able to do anything now. So if you look on that sheet, you can see for the church roof, we have $13,764 put away. Church boiler, $10,596. Rainforest furnaces, just $100 because they're smaller. The office roof, $13,168. The office boiler, $1,539. And the parsonage roof, $4,040. A total of $43,210.60. So that is stuff we're putting away for something. It's not like we think we're going to need to replace the roof. We know we're going to need to replace the roof, so we're preparing for that and keeping sustainability for the church. And then finally, eliminate debt. So, as you know, a couple years ago, we purchased a parsonage. The reason we did that was because it allowed Pastor Glenn and Susan some stability in the housing market. It was very hard for them to find a place where they didn't have to be worrying about what's the rent going to do and all this other stuff. This way, they could keep a steady rent. We know it was a good time to buy as well because the market has obviously gone up. And we invested in the district bond fund. And Pastor Glenn pays for the principal payment through paying rent to us. So that gets paid. We will be, of the $140,000 of debt, we'll be paying either $15,000 or $20,000 of that off this December. Only 5 of it's due, but we want to attack that sooner rather than later. And as you know, inflation and interest rate risk are very key in this type of stuff. So now the boring stuff, the profit and loss statement. And I'm just going to go over this really quick because the profit and loss statement can be very, very confusing. And I don't got my notes. So the profit and loss statement, if you look at it, I'm going to do this really quick. Our total income was $407,105.98. Our total expenses were $377,625.77 for a net income of $29,480.21. Now that could be very misleading. It sounds awesome, right? But there's some things that aren't there. For example, I talked about the sinking fund. That's not an expense, so the way accounting works, you can't tell that's there. You know what I'm saying? The other thing is you've got things that we paid out of. Like, for example, we put new air conditioning units in the foyer. That's not in there because that's not really part of that because we use that from savings. So there's a lot of things that number can be misleading on, and you just got to look at some other statistics that can help you with that. So one thing you would look at is, I don't have it here, but our operating general fund is increased over $10,000 as of the end of April 2022 compared to 2021. We have $43,000 in the sinking funds for sustainability. Our missions giving was very, very high. We made improvements to the soundboard and the foyer. So we're doing a lot of positive things. We're paying our bills, and we're actually in a better position financially at 2.5 months of our operating income as opposed to 2 months like we were last year. So those are the type of things you look at, and you take it all together to kind of get an overall health of the church. And I think we're in a really great position right now. Finally, the financial plan is, boy, God was having fun with me with this, wasn't he, Eric? So God was just doing all kinds of things to say that he had control of this thing. So the new financial plan is $367,753.55. which is $6,938.75. Now, there are 53 Sundays, so therefore that is going to be the $6,938.75 per week. Last year, we took in $6,711.82 over the 52 Sundays, so that is a 3.2% or $226.93 increase over last year. Last year, we increased 2.091% over the previous year. So we're really in a good spot, because we would expect that now, as the pandemic stuff is fading and people are going to start coming back to churches. Of course, we did think this last year. So we would be expecting to see the increase, and we have been able to not only maintain equally, we have actually increased during that time. So it's really, we're in a great position to grow and minister to people. And again, the challenges, the inflation. Now keep in mind, the inflation's over 8%. If you go back to the 80s or the 90s, it would probably be in double digits, because they calculated it differently so that it looked better for the people that need to be elected. What else? All right, so as we look at the plan, I just want to call out a few things that you may want to know. The staff compensation increased 3%, and that was basically, we received some input from the district of what they recommend. Then what we do is we have the vice chair sit down with Pastor Glenn to talk about what he thinks for the staff and everything, and then I will go through and try to get all those numbers together so the finance committee can get together and vote on it and bring it to the board for approval. So we did a 3% for compensation. Let me see. Now, there is a difference with Melanie Kirshner, because she's at a little bit above minimum wage, so she will get mandatory increase in December. So hers actually comes out a little over 5% when you annualize it, and she deserves it too anyways. So, and then the other thing you want to look at, if you look at the custodial costs, you'll notice there's a big drop-off this year. That's because when Scott was here, he did a lot of the maintenance stuff. So you'll see some of that stuff in the grounds maintenance and the building maintenance, because we're going to have to pay another way for those type things until we evaluate how we're going to deal with that going forward. What else? The church building last year may look like we're having a drop-off in what we're projecting for this year, but it's not, because we had, like I said, we had the air conditioners put in last year. That's $10,000 that came out of savings. So when you take that out of the expense for that from last year, you'll see that it's actually an increase. Utilities, they were recommending somewhere between 10 and 50% increases because of all the stuff going on right now. We use somewhere in the 20 range, because based on what we were seeing, we thought that might be appropriate. And again, you can't plan for all of these things. We just do the best we can. Most things that we have ministry leaders for, I checked with the ministry leaders, and they were comfortable, and we kept pretty much the budget where they were the previous year. So most people seem to be fine with what we've done. And then when you get into the first fruits and missions, the first fruits is estimated because I just got an email today about how our numbers aren't into the district yet, even though they're not due until the 17th, but I won't go there. And missions, we always start as 8% of the operating fund. But as you know, this church, whenever we let them know about a need in the mission field, they are jumping in and sending money. And like I said, last year it was 20%. So all that money passes through, and that will adjust the percentages, which you're going to see here. I'm not sure if you can see those. It's got the percentage breakdown. The biggest one is, if you look on this is also in your packet. If you look, I'm going to look at my packet here. All right, so last year when we did the budget, the personnel was around 55% like it is now. We generally want to keep that between 45 and 50%, but as you bring in a new pastor and you're starting to grow, which Pastor Craig really hasn't been here a year where he's been able to be out doing stuff. People have been pretty much locked in. So that's really where we expect to be, and as we grow, we would expect that to get down to 45 to 50%, and then Pastor Glenn will say we need to hire somebody, and then we'll go through this whole process again, but that's okay. The budget also shows these are based on operating fund receipts as well only. So also when you take that into account, there's all the pass-through things that come in for different ministries. So this is solely on what we use as the operating fund. And I think that is the treasurer's report. Hopefully that was better than me going down squirrel holes. Does anybody have any questions?
No questions. Very good. All right. Of course, you can always talk to him later about some of those details that some of you are reading right now and trying to figure out what they mean. So, thank you. Very good job, JB. Hearing no questions, is there a motion to receive this report with thanksgiving? Very good. Yes. Let's thank the Lord. Amen. Thanks for that. All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you very much. I do have a report from the tellers. And again, we're saving time, not having to do any extra balloting on this because we've elected our members at large to the board, and they are as follows: with 31 ballots cast. What is the amount needed? I will declare these all have been. What's half of 31? 16. Yes, 16 needed to be elected. The following people have been elected to the board: Rob Schrader, Rob Hill, Brenda Schaff, Roger Brown, Sue Kramack, and Meredith Kurtz. All right. Yes. Praise the Lord. Thank you very much. That being said, we're going to go to another report. But before we do, there it is. We need to elect a nominating committee for next year. And we need to elect 4. And we have ballots for that, I believe, as well. We'll pass them out. This is so we can do it all again next year, right? Did I spell wrong? Christ. Oh, yes. Wow. I can't edit it from here. All right, so it's Chris Helwig, Sue Glenister, Chris Helwig, Sandy Hunt, Linda McNeely, and Pam Rice. You know, someone typed that in there. We're thinking they must have been prayerful at the time, you know. Yes. And it's not Susie? Oh, that's not right either. Yes. Susie. I understand totally, Susie, because my wife likes Susan, not Susie. We got that covered? Okay. That's not a motion. That's just a clarification, right? It's Susie Glenister, Chris Helwig. What does your ballot say? Yeah. Everyone cross out Susan and put Susie. Susan's okay, but not Sue. I know my wife hates that too. I'm not sure how that happened. Anyway, all right, so that is not the secretary in the office's fault. I want you to know that. That was my fault. I'm not sure what I was doing. All right. Any other nominations from the floor for the nominating committee? Would someone like to have their name put on the nominating committee? I don't hear any. There's a motion that the nominations cease. All right, motion and support. All in favor say aye. All right, please mark your ballot and we'll collect them and we'll charge the tellers to count them as well. We're going to move on to our next report, which will be the building committee report. And I believe, let's see, who's here on the building committee? We got Dean. If you're on the building committee, can you come forward, at least up here, and give him support, all right? Lee's here, and I think that's the ones I see. Tom Basciani and Denise, right, okay. It's all you, Dean.
Sit here? Okay. Hey, can you all hear me? Okay. I won't read this whole report, but you can all look at it and see the challenges that we've faced as far as this building project that we're working on. The first one we did was Scheme A, And when the architect sent that back to us, it was a $2 million price tag. So we knew that wasn't going to work, so we decided we would downsize. Then we had Scheme B, and that was going to be located on the south side of the church and with a back entrance, but we didn't like that. So then we went to Scheme C and downsized even farther. And with that, by now we've got the surveyor give us the ground topographical map. And with putting the building on the south side, we need about 10 feet of fill out there. So that would be that's gonna be quite expensive to do that. So we looked at the north side also. And in this, Scheme C and Scheme D are exactly the same, except Scheme C is on the south side and Scheme D is on the north side. One of the issues with putting it on the north side is, as far as handicap accessibility, wouldn't be all that great, because when you come into the rainforest area, you'd have to have an elevator or something to go up to that floor, and then you've got to come back down to the lobby area. And also, as far as building some kind of enclosure for a connector, we didn't think that'd be very aesthetically appealing to go around the backside of the church with something that was 12 or 14 feet wide with and a roof over it. So we decided to go back to the south side, and then and with this C and D, there were no classrooms, just because there would be a gym, a women's and men's room, a nursery, a kitchen, a storage, and then of course the connector. So we decided to go with Scheme E, and that adds back in 2 classrooms and on the south side, and currently that is with the architect, and he has sent it to the structural engineer to get a price on a steel building. It's very difficult to get very accurate pricing because the way everything is changing, nobody wants to give you too accurate of a price, because with inflation and like that, the prices are going up and down all the time. So the structural engineer was to start the project on May 6th. The mechanical and plumbing engineer is supposed to be working on this project also. So when we get that back, we'll have a better handle on what the price is going to be out there. That's pretty much it. I don't know if anybody's got some questions. Yes. The backfill over there, it's probably gonna be, we had a price of about $72,000, but I don't think that's anywhere near what it's gonna be. I think it's gonna be, well, actually, I know it's gonna be more, because that was for Scheme C, and E is gonna be 24 feet wider, because we're gonna put the wing back on the other side. And so I know it's gonna be more than that. And then the backfill's real tricky, because you've got to, the amount we're putting out there, it almost has to be balanced. If not, you can't just go with a foundation wall. You have to go with a retaining wall, which is a lot more expensive, because you can't let that dirt slide out. And fill is just not, which I learned this, I thought fill was fill, but fill's not just fill for this. You gotta use gravel, and they compact it like every 6 inches. And you gotta make sure that stuff doesn't move, so. And then also, when going out there, you've gotta go back in to the driveway to go into the road, so then there's gonna be some contour there also. And that was another reason we went away from the north side too, because over there, you gotta take that whole parking lot out, so we would've had to put some fill someplace to put a parking lot someplace else anyway, so. Okay.
Any other questions? This has been a laborious, exploratory year for the building committee. And thank you for your time, yes. So you see why you have not seen a building out there. There's other things too I want to speak to as well. Any other questions, guys? Anything else you want to add to that on the building committee? You've got the very detailed report, of course, but.
Not really. I mean, because the prices that we, oh, I'm sorry. Oh, see, you gotta tell me when you can't hear me. My wife told me that I gotta stand closer because you can't hear me. So, no, as far as the time frame, no. The only thing is, in the report there, a lot of contractors are 2 to 3 years out anyway to do it, so. And with the costing like that, we were looking at steel to begin with, then we went to stick, and now we're back to steel. But everything goes up and down so much, so. And then most of these pricing we got isn't for a finished product, it's just, some of the finished interior work isn't done, so. And nobody wants to give you a price on that because there's such a fluctuation. Yes, I think you could put it that way. Okay?
Thank you, Dean. I think Eric
Yep,
wants to speak
thank
to
you.
this subject. Thank you.
Yeah, that's the first thing I want to say, thanks to the committee. And I know there's a lot of time and effort. I'm the outgoing chair, vice chair, so that means I get to say a few words about this. And one thing that's not included in the report, but has been discussed at the board, is breaking this into 2 phases. One of the things that we're seeing is that foundationally, the church is not ready to support a building like this in terms of just foundational giving. And so even if they said the funds were ready and we had the building ready to grow, we would have a sustainability problem in terms of operation, maintenance, heating, just general pieces. And so what's likely to come out of your next board is recommendations of splitting this into 2 phases. And one is taking some of the funds that we have been gifted and investing in the ministries that are going on today. And so you'll start to see recommendations in a lot of the areas of men's, women's, senior ministries to try to grow the foundational pieces of the church before we look to advance to thinking about expanding the campus. Because I think one of the things that JB really laid down is this sort of operational idea about how we do things. I don't think it would be good stewardship to put ourselves over our skates in terms of adding facility that the church effectively can't afford to sustain. Just being perfectly candid as we talk about it. And so, I'm not Debbie Downer, I'm really not. I see this as an opportunity for us to return to thinking about what we can do with the dollars to invest in this community and that community to become a community of faith that really advances the kingdom. And then when those opportunities arise, then I think we'll have a good foundation, because we're not talking about taking the entirety of that and sort of whittling it away, which is a lot of people worry about, right? Because with that kind of gift comes a substantive, real promise to do something. So, I'll just float a couple things, because Pastor Glenn can yell at me after, because I'm just now a parishioner. Just even talking about things like the building down the road that's open, right? Is that an opportunity that we could look into, is the Little Luke's building, right? Is that something we could use that already exists? Or are there other opportunities? My personal favorite around Care and Share that we could invest in, and are there ways that we could put money into that to really help our community? So I think the building committee has done a yeoman's job of expressing a lot of the factual pieces of the cost, even though it's even with a little bit of the blurring around the edges of what things cost. There's enough there now to say, okay, to Rob's very observant questions, so we're not there yet. You're right, we're not there yet. And so if we're not there yet with the funding and we're not there yet with the operational piece, I think that doesn't discourage me. That just means, okay, let's refocus and think about how we go back to taking the time, the people, and the dollars that we have and focus on the investment into our community, build that to a place where we return to the spot and say, okay, what is the thing that the church needs that kind of substantive gift could provide a foundation for? And so I just wanted to express that, because that's been on the hearts and minds. I also stand here and say, I'll accept any darts, arrows, whining, and fussing, because they're all legit about the process, right? I'll own that one, because again, I'm going out and you can just come and grab me and criticize me later. I'll own that part of it. We haven't been as transparent, despite the fact that you see there's a laundry list of activity that hasn't made it to the ears of the congregation, and so you were probably unaware of this. And so a lot of this is like, oh, well, finally, that's about time we kind of figured this all out. We knew this, a year ago that would be a struggle. Just put that on my little bank card for Eric, and then let this upcoming board do their work to kind of reimagine what this might look like, okay? So I think that's all the comments I have. I'll take questions, and the last thing I would say is I'll happily take criticism of progress, but I won't necessarily accept that there was some malicious intent behind it. There really wasn't. It was certainly not a great operation for expressing what was going on, but there was never an intent to keep people from being unaware of what was happening behind the scenes, as you can see from this. So I'll take questions. Stunned silence is okay too. If you want to chuck fruit later on, that's all right, or grab me afterward. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Eric. And we do have a report, and the next report will be the Board of Trustees. And so, if Dean, don't go too far away. I do want to report from the tellers is that we have elected our nominating committee for next year. With 30 ballots cast, 15 need to be elected. We have elected Pam Rice, Susie Glenister, Sandra Hunt, Chris Helwig, and that's 4 right there. There we go. They have been elected as our nominating committee for next year. All right. And oh, yes. Let's go back and let's have a motion to receive the building committee's report. Sorry. All right. All in favor say aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. I thought we did. We didn't? Okay. All right. Board of Trustees. And so, Dean, if you have not left yet, thank you. Next year, I'll let you have a much easier annual meeting, okay? Yeah.
Geez, I've never talked this much in front of anybody before. I only have one comment about me being the biggest spending trustee there was, is when you buy a parsonage for some, it's that gives you a pretty good head start. Okay. Some of the various task and maintenance issues that were addressed this past year by the trustees were, last summer we helped move Caring Hearts Ministry to a new location in the village of Pulaski. We extended the church's insurance policy to include that location. And then unfortunately, the property was sold this past winter. We arranged rooms in the basement area of the church and helped them relocate back into the church. The local board wanted to install AC in the foyer area. We acquired 2 quotes and ended up going with Tug Hill Mechanical, who is also our, they also do the work or installed our boiler for this area here. And it was installed, it was $9,880, and it was installed on July 1st, just in time for VBS. The trustees also installed blinds in the 2 windows in the foyer and installed a recessed bookcase in the rainforest area. One of the AC units in the rainforest area stopped working. We had Tug Hill look at it, and they said it was obsolete and parts were no longer available. They quoted us a replacement price of $5,248. Within a few months, the second of the 3 units quit, and they're still obsolete, so they quoted us $8,560 to replace the 2. It was decided that we would replace all 3 units at the same time, and Tug Hill Mechanical quoted us a price of $12,995. As you can see, the more units you buy, the cheaper it got. In my latest email with them about last week, they've been ordered and they should be here within a few weeks. There was a phone and alarm system issue in the office. We had Sova take care of that. It was a faulty breaker. And from my experience and other trustees' experience around here, most of these breaker boxes have no labeling whatsoever in there, so it's hunt and peck until you find the problem. Trustees built additional shelving in the basement for storage for the church decor and such. With Scott Forciano no longer working in the church as our maintenance person, the trustees took on most of the things that Scott would have taken care of. Examples, we changed lock sets, installed stair hand railing, replaced exterior siding trim, door closure adjustment, light bulbs, etc. Scott also did the snow shoveling, so we had to get somebody to do that. Parker Snow Plowing did it at a cost of $1,500 for the winter. The trustees fabricated and installed some gutter guards on the gutters. Since our last annual meeting, we had water in the basement at least 6 times that needed to be cleaned up. This has been an ongoing problem that Scott, over the years from experience, kept on top of when he could, with trustees pitching in when it got severe. Carpeting had gotten wet numerous times in one of the rooms, so that carpet was ripped out and thrown away, and the floor was prepped and repainted. We contacted 811 to mark the underground utilities on the east side of the church, and kind of an inside joke here, where they say there is something underground, there is something underground. Most recently, trustees spent the entire day of installing drainage lines for the gutters and the sump pump. And hopefully that will divert the surface water from re-entering the basement. We got a quote from JCH Seamless Gutters for $2,094 if we want to put a gutter on the end here. And we, trustees, installed some new springs in the overhead door in the L-Store storage building. We had a good turnout for our annual spring yard cleanup. Thank you for everyone who helped with that. And I would like to thank all the fellow trustees and just tell them it's been a pleasure working with them. And they are Dave Foyle, Lee Glenister, Keith Ridgway, Tom Basciani, and John Mundy. Respectfully submitted me, Dean Richardson.
So you're doing so good, and there's a couple Sundays this summer that I'm looking for a speaker.
Yeah. Any
No.
questions?
All right, any questions of Dean again? Yeah, Lee, you have something to add? Yes. Okay, so just to reiterate what was said for those that are watching online, Lee pointed out that the air conditioning units that we put in the foyer are also heating units, which did help a lot this winter to keep that area warm. All right, very good. Is there a motion to receive this report? All right. All in favor say aye. Motion's carried. Thank you very much, Dean, for that report. Let's see, I've got, I think, Missions Committee report. Chuck Miller, come on down.
You know, after seeing the pastors' really cool pictures for their reports, I'm thinking next year we should get like the whole mission committee out in the bush somewhere with our safari hats on and binoculars and get a picture of us. Yeah, we ought to have a cool photo like that for us too. Okay, missions committee for 2021 and to 22. You have this in your package. Now, I don't want to read the whole thing verbatim, but obviously we've been under a lot of limitations because of that C word that we don't want to talk about anymore. And that's, you know, forced us to do some things differently, but it also has forced us to look at new ways to do some missions work. So it's been a good year overall that we've been able to persevere through. I would say that the prayer piece of it is still the most important part. And as I said here, you ask any missionary on the field what the most important thing to them is in terms of support, and the first word out of their mouth is prayer. The power of prayer is what sustains them. So I would just really encourage us individually and as a church body to continue to pray for our missionaries at home and abroad, and really bathe them in prayer for their protection and for their success in the field. From the financial aspect, we've always had a great giving church here, and that continued last year. In addition, we've had sizable special offerings for the things like the Ukrainian Refugee Fund that we're participating in with the Wesleyan Emergency Relief Fund, and also through our sister church in Krakow, Poland, who are providing direct assistance and setting up homes for refugees coming out of Ukraine. And we've been splitting all of our special giving for that. We're sending a significant portion of it directly to the church in Krakow, and a majority of it to the Wesleyan Emergency Relief Fund, where it gets distributed amongst churches in other countries in Eastern Europe that are doing similar things. So all that money is going directly for refugee family support. So we really appreciate that giving. I will correct one thing. I had to do this report a little bit before we got our final numbers in. I said in the report our total missions giving was more than 17% of the church's operating fund. You'll see in your missions finance report that it's actually about a little over 16%. But that's still very healthy, and we're very grateful for the way that the church has supported the missions programs. And we're going to, as JB mentioned, continue to budget at least 10%. Well, we'll plan on 10%. We budget 8%, and we plan on being well over 10% of our operating fund income for missions giving year to year. And so as a result of all the stuff going on and the restrictions on overseas travel and other things, that really didn't just impact us, it impacted missionaries as well. A lot of missionaries got stuck either here in the States or in places where they couldn't get back to the field because of COVID restrictions. So with all that going on, we continued to support our overseas missions, but we also put a special emphasis in the last year or two on community missions. And so we're continuing to heavily support the Pulaski, Mexico, and Sandy Creek food pantries, the Family Resource Center in Oswego, and other special ministries like High Braes Refuge and our own Caring Hearts program here. And we'll continue to do that. Now in world missions, we're continuing our support of certain partnerships with Global Partners missionaries. I mentioned here in the report the Van Steenbergs in Latin America. Just this week, we got word that they are taking a new assignment with Global Partners. They won't be in Latin America anymore. They're going to be coming back and doing some stateside work for Global Partners missions. And so with that change, we'll be looking at that situation and reviewing what we can do to work with them, or if we want to change any of that relationship with them. But that's fresh news. So we have been supporting them for the last couple of years, and they've been very successfully ministering in Central America, doing training of national pastors and building churches from national congregations down there in Central America. So we are also partnering directly with the Picketts in Mozambique, and Jim and Karen Pickett are in a very difficult area to minister in Mozambique. A lot of severe Islamic terrorist activity in Mozambique, and they've soldiered through that, as we've shown in some of our mission moments, and are successfully moving along with their Bible college project there, where they're training national pastors and sending them out to minister in their own villages and towns. And then we have the Charis team in Central Asia as well, which we've continued to partner with, and that being they're in a closed country where their work really has to be done underground, if you will, through other means, because they're not actually technically legally allowed to be missionaries there. So we continue to work with them, and we still have our ongoing partnership with the Krakow Church in Poland. And they are not only just thriving as a church and busy with all the refugee crisis, but they're planting churches in other towns around Poland too. So that whole effort is growing and multiplying. Hopefully we can continue to partner with them in a generous way. So we had some special funding I mentioned in here for Haiti, for disaster relief. Again, it seems like every year there's some new fresh disasters that hit Haiti. And when they happen, and World Hope International is on scene there, we frequently are asked to help with that, and we have been able to in the past year again. And We've been able to provide a lot of support, again, for Operation Christmas Child campaign and other special projects like that. I want to take a minute and talk about short-term mission teams. A lot of us, you know, have been here over the years. You look back on that wall with all those flags were places we've sent mission teams in the past. And this church was at one time a great sending church for short-term teams. The issue is that short-term missions have changed radically. And the idea of just, you know, ginning up a work team of a bunch of people and sending them off to, you know, some country in Africa to, you know, build a little chapel or something, that's not really where short-term missions is anymore. The whole world of short-term missions work is changing. It's more now, the focus is less on foreign work teams. The focus really now is on ministry teams and connecting and relationship with these foreign missions teams to provide backup and support for them and a connection with the church. And so we're looking at new kind of transitional models for short-term teams. Now, with COVID, we couldn't send very many people anywhere anyway the last couple of years. We actually had talked about putting a team together to go to Central America, but as I say, the Van Steenbergs will be coming off the field there. So we'll reevaluate this, and we're actually bringing in some people from Global Partners and World Hope to meet with us to talk about what does short-term missions really look like anymore, and how can we get more involved. One of the things that is really becoming coming to the forefront of short-term teams from local churches is disaster relief. A lot of churches are mobilizing people in their church who are able and ready to go and have their bag packed, so that when a disaster strikes, either in the U.S. or overseas or somewhere, and World Hope or the Global Partners calls to mobilize a team, they can pick up and go and join disaster relief teams in those situations. That's becoming, unfortunately, a greater and greater need. And so things like that are things that we have to take into consideration and think about as we look forward to what short-term missions look like going forward. And the other side of that is ministry teams, and these are smaller teams, more focused on a particular ministry that go and work with local pastors or missionaries in the field to develop a particular area of ministry and provide them with support and help in those areas. So we'll talk more about that, and again, you'll be hearing more about that in the coming year. And again, I would say that if you have a heart for missions and are interested in learning more about what we can do to further the cause of missions from this church, we'd be glad to hear from you, and we'd be glad to have you be part of the team here on the missions committee. So thank you for that, and I'll take questions.
Thank you, Chuck. Any questions? Chuck, thank you for great work this year. You guys done a lot through our missions. Thank you. All right, if you're in favor of receiving this report, clap your hands. There we go. Thank you. Chuck, don't go away. The next thing on the docket is the scholarship. Mary Presley Scholarship Fund.
You want to do the missions finance
yeah, I can do the
report?
finance report as well, yes.
Okay, I'll just, JB, were you going to do the finance report?
Just, yeah.
Okay, I don't have it with me.
Oh, you want this? Here. Well, while he's doing that, we can do our next ballot. How's that sound? All right. So we have the next thing I know we need to elect is delegates to district conference, and we have ballots. And I know it's way ahead here somewhere, and we have 2 names in nomination. No, it's not even up there, right? Did I miss it? All right, go back here. I just messed it all up. Okay. Anyway, we're gonna get there yet. Lots of advertisements. Okay. All right. So let's go back and get on track here. All right. Missions finance report. Did you find it, Chuck? Okay. Yeah, go ahead and do it now. We'll get ready for this.
Okay, so along with the missions report in your package, you'll see a copy of the missions finance report. And this is basically set up to show you what was in our past year plan, what we actually provided for these various ministries, and what we're forecasting or planning to do for the coming year. And there have been a few changes. There are some things here that are one-time or special giving type of opportunities. So they don't necessarily figure into the budget for the following year. For example, if we do a special offering for the Ukrainian refugee relief, we don't plan that in our budget for next year. God willing, there won't be a need for that next year. These are things that are one-time opportunities or in a particular year. But the ongoing mission support would be our local ministries like Caring Hearts and the Family Resource Center and the food pantries and so on. So you can see from your plan here that what we budgeted in the first column of this report and what we gave actual in the second column. In some cases, the number is larger because of individual gifts that came in above and beyond what our church budget had provided for, and that's great. So that's why in some cases the numbers are larger. For example, under Caring Hearts, you'll see that we planned to give them $3,000. The actual giving from the church budget was $3,000, an additional $2,239 for rent assistance. But there were other non-planned gifts that came in through the church, totaling $8,781. So these aren't things that we had budgeted, but they came in and were passed on through to Caring Hearts. So that's the way you would read this page. And you'll see that we are trying to keep a good mix of giving between community missions and overseas missions. We obviously believe in both and want to support both. And I think that kind of sums up what's on here. But you'll see at the bottom of the page, percent of operating fund for the past year, or rather the total amount of missions giving for the past year was $36,708. Budgeted $56,307 actual, so including a lot of those special gifts. And so for next year, we expect to give about 16% of the total operating fund I'm sorry, that was 21-22 also. Did I read that wrong, JB? It was 16% last year, right? Yeah, so, and as I said, we'll be planning to give at least 8% of our budget and expecting to be well above 10% in the coming year. The next page is simply just a little tabulation of some of the special projects that and some of the special giving that came in when we had missions moments for particular causes or needs, or when we were asked to donate things like for disaster relief in Haiti. So if you have any questions on that, I should mention also, I really appreciate those that have been giving to the Jim Atkinson Short-Term Missions Fund. For those of you that aren't familiar with that, when our dear friend Jim Atkinson graduated and went to be with the Lord, his family bestowed on the church a gift to start a special missions fund to help people who go on short-term teams to help defray some of their expenses. And that fund has grown considerably since we started it, thanks to individual giving that's coming in addition to what the church first received and has invested. So when we are ready to send teams out, we will have some financial aid we can offer to help people defray some of the expenses, thanks to that. Questions?
Okay, you have before you the finance report, the missions committee, and thank you, Chuck, for going over that with us. If there's no questions, is there a motion to receive this report? Motion's made and seconded. All in favor say aye. All right. Then while you're here, go ahead and take us right into the Mary Presley Scholarship.
Hi, my name is Chuck Miller, and just want to introduce myself because I'm sure you don't know who I am by now. So the next item in your agenda is the Mary R. Presley Scholarship Fund. This too might require just a moment of explanation for those of you that are relatively new to the church. Many years ago, we were highly blessed. One of the original members and a long-term member of our church, Mary Presley, had the foresight to endow a gift to the church in her will, and she bequeathed to the church a significant amount of money to start a special scholarship fund for students who are connected with the church to help them go to Christian colleges. And this is a wonderful, wonderful asset and blessing that we have here as a church, which is, I think, unique amongst most churches I've ever been acquainted with. I don't think there are many churches that have this type of resource available. So over the years, this fund has been invested. We've grown it, and we are making it available every year. And advertising it again. I'll advertise, here. If you have or know of college students attending Christian-based colleges. It started out primarily as the Wesleyan denominational colleges, but we've also opened it up to other Bible-based colleges of similar doctrinal views. If you know of students who are in that situation and would be in a place to apply for some support, there is money in the fund to support them, so we would welcome those opportunities to help some of our young people advance their Christian education. From the financial standpoint, my other role here is as treasurer of the fund. So from a financial standpoint, our balance forward at the beginning of the last fiscal year was $259,220. And that included, that added to that was bond interest income. I should explain that a lot of this fund was traditionally invested in bonds, which we wrote here at the church to finance building construction and church projects in other Wesleyan churches in the district. Over the years, the number of those individual church bonds has diminished down. We only have really one church now that has bonds out with us. And the district desired us to shift over to making contributions to a district bond fund, which is administered by them, and they parcel it out to the churches that need it in the district. So now more of our bonding is done through the district than directly to an individual church. So just small difference. But we had $1,145 in interest on these bonds. We also had, with the Wesleyan Investment Foundation, $2,883 in interest income and a massive amount of money from our local savings bank. And so $4,000 in total income. Our expenses in the past year included $2,000 in scholarship awards. And in addition, we, as a part of the setup of the fund, we tithe on our annual income to the two closest Christian colleges here, Houghton College and Kingswood University. Those are the two that were designated in the bequest. And so last year we sent checks to their general scholarship funds for $300 apiece, for a total expense last year of $2,600. So our ending balance at the end of the last fiscal year was $260,651. Now, where that money is parked, just as the second half of this sheet, $1,495 in our local checking account, $6,933 as of April 30th in the local savings account. The Wesleyan Investment Foundation is where the bulk of the money is invested because it's a safe investment with a reasonable rate of return. And so that's $237,000 and change for total cash accounts of $245,000. And then we have the one set of bonds that are still out to the Johnson City Wesleyan Church for $15,000. And we did have a number of bonds out with City Hope, which is the former Gates Wesleyan Church over near Rochester, but they paid them off this past year. They paid off all their bonds, and so they are no longer, we're not holding bonds for them anymore. So with the total fund value of $260,651.83 balances with our ending balance for the year. And that's the financial report for the scholarship fund.
Okay, very good. Any questions? Again, someone needs a scholarship that fits the criteria. See Chuck.
It's a great asset. Yeah. Dean?
Yes, sir?
Last year we had one student. The scholarship fund right now that we're set up to be able to award up to $1,000 per semester as needed to individual students. So last year it was one student, 2 semesters. Eric? Yes, this bequest, thanks, Eric. This bequest that she made has really grown and is there to bless a lot of students as the need arises. Other questions? Correct. Oh, absolutely. Our own daughter, Mary, was a beneficiary of some of the couple of these scholarships when she was in college. And she went to a Christian college, and then she became a teacher. And then she became an editor for Christianity Today magazine for a while, and a reviewer for them. And now she's a homeschool mom. You know, so it doesn't mean you have to go into full-time ministry to get the benefit of it. Great point. Thank you, Ann.
All right, thank you. For those who are watching online and you didn't hear the two people praising the scholarship fund, one of them was a father of the recipient that's about to graduate. Is that true? Or did she already graduate? Next weekend, she graduates from Roberts. Yes, very good. That's Abby. And then she gets married, whatever, those things. All right. And she found a Christian guy there. That helps too. All right. So there's a very happy father. Good investment. All right. If you're in favor of receiving this report, say aye. All right. Same sign. We're going to move on to the election. Carrying Hearts will be next. Let's see. Do I see Sue here? Okay. We're gonna elect. We need 2 delegates. Do we have these passed out by any chance? All right. Can we pass out these ballots for the delegates to the district conference? Now we're electing 2 delegates. Okay. There's 2 names in nomination. Are there any nominations from the floor? So what am I going to say next? Yes, there's a motion to have the secretary just cast 1 ballot in the name of those 2 delegates for district conference, and we'll be done with the elections if you do that. Is there a motion out there? All in favor say aye. Motion's carried. Very good. We'll go on to our next report, which I said it was the Carrying Hearts. You've heard some about that tonight already. Sue was going to be here to do this, and I don't see her. Okay, we'll move on then. It's there before you, and you've had a chance to look at that. As you know, they moved and came back. So they're here. They meet Tuesdays and Saturdays for the most part. And now that they're back here, they're starting to get some more traffic. So they had a big day on Saturday. Is there a motion to receive this report? It's before you. Motion's made. All in favor say aye. All right, we'll move on. Next would be TLC. It's before you as well. I don't think I see Deb here. That's also there for you to read. Just some, I think that's already been pointed out that Susie's here. Susie, I think you should give the report. There we go. There we go.
I'm not gonna read this because you can read this. I do want to point out a couple things. Debbie Ward is going to be leaving us. She's graduating this year. We want to thank her. She's worked for 7 years. She's been a wonderful asset to TLC. But, well, let's give her, you can tell her we gave her a great hand. But we do have a new teacher, and that's going to be Rachel Lemos. So we're very, very happy about that. So, we're happy about that. And I was reading this over, and I was looking at the last paragraph, and it's just so wonderful. Our 3-year-old classes are filled up, and we have a waiting list. And that's just incredible. I mean, the school year hasn't even ended yet, and we have a waiting list for 3-year-olds for next year. So that's great. God is so good. We look forward to another year of pouring into our students and helping them not only learn their colors, letters, numbers, etc., but most importantly, that they are special and that God loves each of them. And I taught for 20 years. I would still keep doing it if I wasn't quite so old. But we have a wonderful group of teachers. So I just want to, if any questions? Any questions? No? And our financial report that JB does a wonderful job for us, is on the next page. And if you have any questions on that, ask JB.
Thank you, Susie. Susie serves as chairman of that committee. All right. Chairperson of that committee, sorry. Susie serves as a chairperson. Okay, all right. If you're in favor of receiving both these reports in one motion, please make motion. All in favor say aye. Motion carried. Very good. Now we're moving on to the women's ministry report. There it is, women's ministry. And here comes Wanda. You might want to adjust that mic when you get up here. I'm not sure.
I just want to take 1 second to, Susie, you can relay this to whoever, but my last grandchild will be graduating from TLC, and my heart is aching because it's just been such a wonderful program, and they've all grown so much, and it's a new season for me because they'll be going to school and I won't have them to babysit, so just wanted to throw that in there. Anyways, our women's ministry mission continues to be to focus on sharing God's truth through Bible studies that grow our spiritual walk, and sharing God's love through fellowships, small groups, events, and mentorship that provide missional opportunity to reach out and witness God's love. Our ministry team's heart for evangelism is committed to standing in the gap and welcoming week to week new attendees to PWC and being a positive witness for Christ, reaching out to the greater community. We have and will continue to provide compassionate caring through our We Care baskets, prepared and given to those God brings to mind in need of a special touch during times of loss or severe illness. Events or outings last year included a ladies' tea, Chambers Camp retreat in September, our Christmas gathering, which got delayed until February. Poor Melanie had to wait, but she did an awesome job for us with that. We were excited to see so many ladies, especially younger women, in attendance at the various events. That was awesome. Recognizing the importance of prayer, we hand out prayer request cards at each event, which our ladies prayer group and pastors pray over. There are also ladies available at these events to pray with those in need. We also on occasion like to support other ministries. We collected canned goods to benefit a local food pantry ministry in May, and we asked ladies to purchase towels to support our Caring Hearts ministry towel giveaway in February. Our various Bible studies and fellowship groups regularly meet throughout the year and have expressed what a blessing they continue to be. The list attached represents the areas where women's ministry offers ladies of all ages an opportunity to get connected. We are very pleased and thankful to see our young women in Moms group growing. It's always a blessing and an answered prayer to see ladies stepping out to help out others, especially our young moms, with a helping hand in a moment of kid crisis, a word of encouragement, or just a hug to say that we truly do care. We take time to share the love of God heart to heart, especially through mentoring, as Leona Helwig has faithfully done over the many years. It is a powerful witness to those we touch to ease the stress and fears of life. We're all called to be to discipleship, and while that may look different for each person, when we ask God to open our eyes to the needs around us, He is faithful to answer. Amen. To close, I just wanted to say our ministry team is excited and looking forward to a good year ahead within our fellowship groups and other activities, the new Bible studies planned for this fall, our Chambers Camp retreat, our ladies' Christmas gathering, and another local retreat possibly in February, in hopes of breaking up the long winters we endure here in the North Country. We are committed in calling to be one body, one spirit, one church, glorifying God in all things. And I just want to say a special thank you to our women's ministry team, Ava Lewis, Linda Kolf, Debbie Forcione, Rachel Lomas, Cindy Mueller, and Melanie Gentile. They are all wonderful ladies to work with, and they really have servant hearts, and we really appreciated them all. So give them a hand. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Wanda. Let's have a motion to receive this wonderful report. All in favor say aye. Thank you very much. Really appreciate that fine report and the ministry of the women in the church. Men's report is next, I believe. There we go. Men's ministry. Here comes JB again. Yes. It is.
Good evening again. Hey, and just everybody, just so you know, TLC also has a scholarship fund. It's very important. You can actually do that online. You just go on, look for TLC scholarship. You can put some money into that, and that would help pay for as the minimum wage and stuff goes up. That has had us have to raise prices, and it may cost some people out of being able to attend it. So if you can donate to that, it's a great ministry. I mean, we've got a lot of people coming from TLC into our church right now, so it's a great opportunity. I'm not going to read all of this. Men's ministry, we have a great Bible study on Tuesday mornings. We are praying about getting some other guys to be leading Bible studies at different times. It's one place we have really lagged. We are also, I have been talking with Pastor Glenn about over a year and a half, we're trying to process how we would do a retreat eventually as well, and hopefully we can get to that soon as well. But the really cool thing that came to us this year, and Pastor Glenn will be sharing more about that, is Fathers in the Field. Men are under attack, and the breakdown of the family has been very rough on our society over the last couple decades. And Fathers in the Field is an opportunity for us to disciple people that do not, boys that do not have fathers. He is the gentleman who's doing that for us is going to be doing our men's breakfast in June. So be sure, guys, make sure you come to that. It's a great opportunity. And I'm just going to close with this. Just read that last paragraph. This is the most important thing about this report. I want to encourage our entire congregation to be in prayer for the men of our church and to have strength to be men of God, the man of God God has called them to be. Men throughout the world fulfill God's will in their life, and the non-believing men to hear the whisper from him that they will have the courage to accept their call on their life. I would encourage each of you to pick a man in our congregation and pray for him and his family diligently, because we are in need of it. Thank you.
Amen. Thank you, JB. Amen. There's so much more can be said from these reports. It just really just scratched the surface. So much goes on around here, and we thank God for the ministry. I'm going to ask a motion to receive the men's report. All right. All in favor say aye. Did I miss any reports? All hearts clear. We've done what we're supposed to do. We've elected a board and some trustees, and I want to ask all of those people that are on the board of administration and the board of trustees to come down front here. We're going to install them, all right, and pray for them. So you know who to be praying for, who to ask questions of, and all that. Come on up, guys. Rob, yeah, no, you do I come up now? Yeah, come on. All right. Stand right across the front here, and we're going to pray for them at this time. All right. Trustees as well, please. Yes. All right. Yeah. Somebody take a picture. Not everyone's here, so that's fine. All right. Now I'm going to do a little more than this. I'm going to probably emphasize this on a Sunday sometime, too, and really embarrass you in front of the crowd. Is that right? You're wondering what you got into, right, Gary?
What's that?
You're wondering what you got into? I got you up front.
I'm not going to sing or anything.
No, okay, all right. You know, I'm really blessed as a pastor, and those who've been pastors understand this. I've been in churches where it was expected that I do like 90% of the work, and in this church, God has blessed us with people understand what it says in Acts when they had the people, select people among you who are, spirit-filled and committed to God, and have them take on all these different roles in the church so that we as pastors can devote ourselves and dedicate ourselves to the ministry of the word and prayer. And so this is a group I'll be praying for, as well as others are not here tonight. Key leaders in the church. Now, there's a whole ceremony here to have you, accept and all that stuff. I'm just going to pray for you, all right, because that's my job, is to minister the word and pray, all right? Father, I want to thank you, first of all, for many leaders that are in this building. There's so many, and they may not have the legal position that a trustee has, but they have the authority of God upon them. And as we continue to develop and appoint leaders that this group will do in a firm, I pray for this group that they would be the the man and woman that you have called upon them to do in the role and position that you've given them, so that they can help to equip and encourage and strengthen and keep all of these leaders rolling in your kingdom. And I pray, God, you protect them by the power of God and the angels of God from all the onslaughts and attack of the enemy. Keep them rolling. When things are tough and the waters come up in the basement and no one's around to help clean it up, may they be full of joy in dealing with it, Lord. Hopefully never deal with that again. But, Lord, when they have to deal with tough decisions on the board, give them the grace and the power and the ability from God to handle it the way that you would want us to handle it. And may you be in every meeting that they have as they lead the church. And I pray, God, that we go from here, we would then pass on an anointing from God through these people to everyone here. And all these people in the church would all be leaders and all be servants and all find their place of ministry, not only in this building, but in their places of work, in their homes, in their families, in the community things they get involved with, whether it be sports or civic things. I pray we'd all feel the anointing of God upon us to go in there and serve these different people we reach out to in this community. And all those families that we reach out to through youth ministry and children's ministry and TLC, and all those ladies that come to events that don't even go to church here, and all those men that show up for men's breakfasts, and people come to every single event throughout the year, whether it be a sporting event or whatever it is. I pray that they would be bombarded with the presence of God in a way that just makes that moment in time when they know God, like Paul, it changes everything for them if they don't know you. And if they're battling things, that they would find victories in their life as we pray for and we see transformation in our community and then into the whole world. And Lord, beyond this, bless all these ministries we heard about today that are worldwide, that they might impact and change this world. Lord, we pray that you use all of us as humble servants to represent you in every place where we go. We ask this in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen. I'm going to dismiss you, but I want to meet with this crowd, okay? All right, if I could, all right? You can see here, everyone in front.